everyone and welcome back. My name is Lexi Jong and today I just wanted to play around with a few new items. So I thought we would play around with the new Tom Ford First Frost palette. I did have some requests to show this wet, so we're going to go ahead and apply it using it wet today. And then I also just received my new Goss blush palettes. So I picked up two of these and I'm gonna wear these for a few days before I put up like an official review or anything on these. But I thought today we might as well play around with that as well. So let's go ahead and get started. On my face, I already have my base products. I have the Surratt Perfectionist Primer, the Hourglass Veil Eye Primer, and then I'm using the new Chanel Le Beige Healthy Glow Foundation, and this is shade BR12. And I have the Chantecaille Le Camouflage Stilo on under my eyes in shade 1. Then I gave everything a super light dusting with the Pat McGrath Under Eye Blurring Powder in light. So I'm going to dampen my brushes with Evian Spray Water. This is just water. Before we use anything wet, I'm taking the Sonia G Classic Crease and I'm going to go into the deepest brown shade. I'm going to just get a little bit on the tip of my brush and put this in the crease. And I'm barely touching my skin because I don't want it to be super dark. I'm going to buff this out a bit. When I first started applying this, I was holding the very tip of the brush so that it would go on lighter, and now I'm holding towards the middle so I have a little bit more pressure and control as I buff it. I wiped off the crease brush and I'm gonna go into this lightest shade. Just gonna get a little bit on the brush. Actually, I got a little bit more than I thought. And I'm going to take this more to the middle inner portion and I'm going slightly above the crease. I'm just gonna apply a little bit there. I'm gonna wipe off the brush and then buff that in. So I'm just kind of merging a little bit of these two shades together and going all the way up to the brow. Taking the Sonia G Worker Pro, and I'm just gonna get this a little wet. So it's now a dampened brush, and I am going to start off with the lighter brown. And I'm gonna put this on the inner half of my lid. Using the same brush, going into the deep brown, I'm just gonna put a tiny touch of this out here. I wiped off the brush and resprayed it, and now I'm going into the pink. I'm gonna put this right in the middle. And I'm tapping over the brown edges. Just gonna add a little bit, go a little bit further over. I feel like these colors have really blended really well. You don't really see much of the, transition. However, I also feel like the colors kind of blended together. Like I don't see much of the pink distinctly anymore. They're definitely more metallic and frosty looking wet. And I will show you some arm swatches wet and dry so you can see them together. Taking the Sonia G Pencil Pro, and I'm gonna get this one wet as well. And I'm gonna go into the lightest shade here, and I'm gonna put this on the inner corner. As the shadows are drying, I'm actually seeing the distinct colors again. So maybe it was just while they were a little bit deeper from being wet. For the lower lash line, I'm going in with this middle brown, and I am not re-wetting the brush, but it is still damp. I re-wet the brush. Now I'm going into the deepest brown, and this is going on the upper lash line, and I'm going to stick fairly close. I mean, this is a thicker pencil brush, so it's gonna not be super close, but I'm gonna try to stick fairly close to the lash line. All right, I just want a little more pink, so I'm gonna take my finger here and I'm going to just tap a little bit more of this on in the center. So this is it for that. And hang tight, I'll move you out and we'll look at some swatches. So here are the 4 shadows dry. And now let me get them wet as well. Here they are wet. And you can see there is a difference. It's not going to be a stark difference, but using them wet will reduce fallout, makes them a little bit brighter and a little bit more metallic. So you don't pick up as much of that ethereal shimmer as you have when they are dry. So when they're wet, they look more metallic, but that gold, I think you see more of the gold when it's wet in the pink shade. So today for eyelashes, I'm going to use the Guerlain Matte Eyes Mascara in shade brown. And then I'm going to use the Noir Lash Tint on top of that. And we'll see how those go. So I'm going to bring you in closer again. I curled my lashes using the Surratt Releve eyelash curler. I'm just going to do my upper lashes. So this is the Matte Eyes Mascara. Now let's go ahead and add the lash tint on top of this. Just want to see what difference it makes. Now I have tried it the other way around already and I didn't film that. But if I put the lash tint on first and then the mascara, I don't really notice much of a difference other than using the mascara on its own. So I wanted to see if I used the lash tint on top, whether I would still have the length from the mascara. So let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna do my brows real quickly with the Gucci brow pencil. And what I really like about this is I'm not really a brow person, so I'm always looking for something really easy and fast that I don't really have to sit there and focus on. So with this pencil, it's like turns into a powder. So if I make a mistake, I can just brush it away. So that's great in my opinion. And it's really easy to use. So I just kind of pencil it in, run through it with a spoolie, and then I top it with the Surratt brow pomade, which is clear. And sometimes I take more time with my brows. See, that one's gonna be bigger. Let's see here. So the spoolie on this is really substantial. You know, it doesn't feel flimsy at all, and I like it. This is the Surratt brow pomade and it's clear. It looks white, but it really does dry clear. One of the things I love about the Surratt brow pomade is not only does it dry clear, but it will keep your brows in place. I don't have very unruly brows, so it's not a huge deal for me, but it's not stiff and it doesn't flake or anything. So I like my brows still to feel very natural, and that's what I like. So real quick, these are just the swatches of dry versus wet, so you can see once everything has kind of dried down what the difference looks like. And I feel like these still maintain a little bit more of a metallic look to them than these do, but it's a very slight difference. I couldn't decide which blush to get. I actually wanted 3 of the 4 blushes, but the Coral Rose blush looked like the Chantecaille Rose duo. So I figured I would pass on that. So I ended up picking up Vivid Azalea because this really intrigues me. I love those bright, you know, punchy blushes when you apply them lightly. I just think they give a really nice look. And then I also picked up Blush Peony, which is this one here. So this is the soft pink with a soft pink highlight. So let's see here, which one to use today? We're gonna go ahead and play with the punchy one today. So this is Vivid Azalea, and we've got two shades in here. So the bright one is Shocking, and then this one is Pearl. Let me go ahead and swatch these real quickly. Ooh, the texture when you touch the pan, you can feel, I didn't even notice, but it's like ribbed, and you can totally feel that on the blush. Not the highlight, but on the blush shade. All right, so that is gonna be super, super bright. Because this is such a bright blush, I think I'm going to go in with a fluffier brush today, a looser brush. So I'm going to take the Chantecaille F03. You can see this one's very loose and soft. And I'm just going to dab a little bit. I'm going to dab that on my cloth also. So I took off some of that. Let's just very lightly pat it on. Okay, so it didn't go on as deeply as I was prepared for, which is good. Actually, I think this is a good shade as it is, but we'll add just a touch more. Again, I gotta knock some of that off. Okay, and that's bright. Now this brush, because it's so loose and fluffy, it's not really buffing the color the way that I want. So I'm gonna take the Smooth Buffer from Sonia G, just kind of buff this. I thought this brush would be too dense to use, but I think once I have the color on, it should spread that nicely. All right, so that gives kind of like a light flush. I wiped the blush off of this. I'm gonna dab this into the highlight, and I'm just gonna get a little bit. We're gonna start up here, and then I'm gonna dab a little bit right here on the apple, and I'm taking the buffer brush again, and I'm going to buff that. So you can see I've got some of the highlight here that I'm not really touching, but I wanted to blend a little bit of the highlight into the cheek. All right, let's try highlight first on the other side. So again, Chantecaille F03, I'm gonna put this on just as though I was doing blush actually, just a little bit higher. So you can see that golden sheen. See that? So it's definitely got a gold glint to it. And it's funny because in the swatch, it looks more white than it does on the skin. I mean, you can see the gold reflect in the highlight on the swatch, but on the skin, you really just see more of the gold. All right, now I wiped the excess highlight. Oh, went in too heavy. Let me take some of that off. All right, and now let's apply this here. Wow, a totally different look. I'm taking the Smooth Buffer here. I mean, this is like a metallic blush like this. So I could have gone in a little lighter with the highlight on the cheeks and the blush on the cheeks, but you're still gonna have that peeking through. It's pretty cool. I'd love to know which side you guys like better. I think I'm gonna wear them both this way and kind of see how long they last and if there's any difference in the wear time, depending on which one you apply first, because you know, the blush is definitely a matte product and the highlight, you know, you've got the shimmer and so forth. So it may fade a little bit faster. We'll see. So I'm just curious to know whether the longevity on the wear time is any different with application. I'm just going to do a very loose dusting of the Sisley Phyto Poudre Compact in shade Rosy. This is the F01 brush from Chikuhodo and just the very lightest dusting. Barely got any powder on there. There we go. And let's keep things light today. I'm going to use the Ilia Balmy Gloss. I've worn this a few times already. This is the shade Only You. So this is really more of a lip oil than a gloss. It doesn't have that thick glossy texture. It really has that thinner, more oily feeling, but it's not greasy. There's a little bit of a hybridness to it than a pure lip oil, but very moisturizing. I have found that the color doesn't stay on like super long. You know, it's a lip oil, so it's not going to last a super long time, but I love this particular shade. It's a pinky nude. Let me go ahead and swatch this one for you. Just put it right up here. And I mean, you can see how sheer that texture actually can be. So it is a thin texture. You've got, I don't know, a couple hours maybe of wear, and then I want to reapply, but I like it. So I would purchase a full size of this. This is a sample size that I picked up during one of the Sephora promos. So let's add just a little bit of sparkle to the lips with the Tom Ford lip balm. So it just adds a little something extra, even on top of a lip gloss. So I wasn't really sure how well that would work, but it didn't really goop up or get too much on the lip balm. So I think it worked well, but it just gives a hint of sparkle. And there we go. So if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please make sure you hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you'll know when my next video pops up. And thanks so much for joining me. I thought this was fun and I would love to hear your thoughts. So please let me know whether you like this side better, where the highlight is applied first, or this side where the highlight is afterwards. You know, and obviously I don't have to have as much highlight here. We could just stick with the matte blush, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, as well as the eyeshadows. Do you prefer them wet or dry? So one more time, here are the swatches. We've got the Only You from Ilia. Then these are the First Frost Quad Dry, First Frost Quad Wet, and then this is the Vivid Azalea blush from Goss. Thanks so much and have a great day, and I will see you soon.